What is up, everyone? We are back with another episode of Shaping the Culture. Hope all is well with you guys. Um, as you guys can see by the thumbnail and the title, we're going to be reacting to a video today. I've got a friend coming to the channel. He's been on before. He's going to help me with this conversation. We got none other than Yoni with us. What's good, bro?
What is going on? I made it once again, mama, and we repping the merch this time.
Hey,
It's a
shaping the
movement.
culture. We in that
It's a
thing.
movement. It's a
And
movement.
and for those who are wondering, we sold out. So we don't
Listen,
got
we
no
got to
more.
get on the next season.
You missed your chance. You missed your opportunity. And so
Man,
man, thank you for joining me to have this conversation. I feel like what we'll be talking about today on this episode, we talk about often just hanging out one on one as we dream and think through what things can be. For those who don't know, you moved to Minnesota to help us church plant 3 years ago. And so not only am I trying to build this podcast, but we're church planters and trying to serve the
yep.
people, trying to help the people. And it's a grind, church planting. I hate comparing it to I hate comparing church planters to entrepreneurs, but there's overlap there. You know what I'm saying? There's a little bit
Absolutely.
of
Yeah.
resemblance. And so anyways, good to have you on, get to talk about what we're going to talk about. And for those who haven't seen this interview, so Colin and Samir, one of my favorite podcasters, they inspire me on a whole nother level. You got to check out their content. They're just some genuine dudes, man. Like some
Yeah,
really,
man.
I don't know them. I've never met them, but I get the vibe. I get a feel that they're good people. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
they,
Love their podcast.
yeah, great guests, great conversations, and love their grind. They just celebrated 1 million subscribers, and it took them, I think, 10 plus years to get there, which is mad encouraging because I'm over here on a journey to 1,000, and
Good
it's
stuff.
taken me 2 years. But yo, they talk about their story and how it took them a lot longer than they wanted to get, and so hearing stuff like that is also encouraging. But watch their podcast if you don't, and then Hasan Minhaj, if you don't know, he is a comedian. I mean, there's so much that he does. He had his own show on Netflix. He used
Jack
to
of all
work.
trades for real.
This dude is brilliant, man. This dude is
Yeah.
brilliant. Like it's incredible. Like his social commentary, his political commentary, his cultural commentary. It's next level. He's bold. He's fearless, and he does it with so much class and sauce. And
Yeah.
so it's like the best of both worlds coming together. And when
Yeah.
Colin and Samir interviewed him, I was like, I gotta watch this. I actually
Yeah, man.
watched The King's Jester live last year. Came
Did
out
you
on
really?
I did. I went to the show when he was here. He was at the
Dang,
University
bro.
of Minnesota. And
I should have
so
gone.
shoulda.
I
You
should
too
have
busy.
gone.
For those that don't know, you married, you got three
Listen,
kids. I don't know if it's three or four, bro.
That-
You stay busy.
that- it all starts to blend together after one.
Yeah, yeah, I believe it, man. You got too many running around.
Yeah,
But
man.
yeah, bro, like I truly inspired by this conversation on many levels,
Hmm.
and I'm excited to unpack a little bit and relate to my own story, relate it to my own story and journey. Do you have any thoughts on that episode? Overview, takes, just how you felt
Yeah,
about it, vibes?
man, I don't think that we're going to have enough time to completely unpack all of the thought provoking
Yeah,
content
yeah,
that they discussed in that hour podcast. I'd really encourage everybody to go take a look at it. I know that we're going to cover some things that like overlap with all the stuff that they talk about, but
yeah,
man, such good content, really inspirational, really
yeah,
thought provoking for those of you who are dreamers,
yeah,
see yourself as creatives, contributors
yeah.
in whatever sphere or world that you're in. Really has enough nuggets for you in your career, with your
Right.
family, with your relationships, with your aspirations in your church
Definitely.
to take some of those things and run with it. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, content about the why, whys are huge fuels for me.
Yeah.
It was a big point of conversation as to like even a guiding point as to decisions that you make in life. So they talked about whys a lot. So really good stuff, man. I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Well, let's jump into it because we don't have all the time in the world.
For
Um,
sure.
one of the things that stood out to me is Hasan talked about his 11-year journey to getting one shot. You know what I'm saying? He got a shot on The Daily Show, and it took him from age 18 to age 30. That's a long time. And he literally gave up some of the best years of his life. When you think about your 20s, like though, it's kind of scary because I'm now in my 30s. I'm 31. And it's scary to think because a lot of what you do in your 20s will set you up for your 30s. And when you're pursuing a dream that can feel so out of reach, and it's not one of those things where it's guaranteed. Like if you go to school for 8 years and to be a doctor, if you don't drop out, it's guaranteed you're going to be a doctor. If you go to law school, if you don't drop out, it's guaranteed. But this is one of those things where you can put in the hours, you can put in the time, you can work around the clock. You could do all these things and still not get a guarantee. And one of the biggest takeaways I got from Hasan was just like, yo, his persistence and his ability to take risk and to stick with the vision. 11 years is a long time to not give up. 11 years is a long time to not throw in the towel. And this man went after it for 11 years and did not let up. I mean, I don't know, how are you processing that? How did you process that when you heard that?
Yeah, man. I think for me, because I'm in the middle of what you would what they categorize as the dark ages.
Yeah.
So the dark ages can either be defined or translated as your 20s,
Right.
or a time frame where you're working towards a goal
Yeah.
and you're not succeeding, and actually everything, all hell is breaking loose while you're
Yeah.
pursuing this dream, this call, this demand,
Yeah.
this weight that you have, this burden, if you will, if you're in the church world, right? This,
Hello.
yeah, and I think the dark ages and the lack of like seeing fruit, or the cost or the
Mm-hmm.
price that's paid, can also be defined as um, the dark ages. And for me, it was really encouraging to hear, being someone that I feel like that's what I'm going through.
Right.
Right. So I think that to any message speaks to anybody,
Mm.
right? There's always three audiences. There's people that have gone through and are out of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So whatever that messaging is serves as a testimony.
Yeah.
There's people that may not have experienced it, but whether they know it or not, are about to walk into that season because it's part of the rhythm of life.
Yeah.
And that's some sort of prophetic, if you will.
Yeah.
And then there's a message that speaks to someone that's in the middle of something.
Yeah.
And that gives light, hope, at the end of the tunnel, to continue to keep on with the dream. I think what I heard from Hasan in that is like, man, if you've got a true love for something, it's worth the wait. It's worth the work, but you need a level of commitment, because that commitment is what's going to fuel the resistance that's there, the lack of effectiveness that's there. So one of your reasons has got to be why, for love of the craft itself. So like in my world, it's preaching and it's singing. There's right. So anyways, there's a lot I can unpack there. So,
No, I love what you said there. It does come down to your why. Ultimately, we're going to talk about that because I think they did a beautiful job of talking about the difference between artistry and algorithm. And I know like I'm definitely going to touch on that because I can resonate with that on many levels. But yeah, it comes down to the love of it. Are you entering into this? Are you in the middle of this? Are you coming out of it? So I think that's a great way to break it down. I'm just thinking about the way, the immigrant story is so relatable. So, he heard his parents, argue about money growing up, and that created a real tension point for him. And when he proposed to his wife at age 29, he didn't know if he could offer her health insurance, And so it's kind of crazy because on one end, you make yourself wonder, I know for me, I feel this, did my parents come to America for no reason? Did they sacrifice their culture? Did they sacrifice their friendships? Did they sacrifice their degrees? Did they sacrifice their comfort for no reason? I know that's an unnecessary pressure they put on us, but it's still, it gets you thinking at this age. And especially the older they get, like I'm at a place in my life where I want to retire my parents. I'm at a place in my life where I would like for my parents not to work, and I would like to take care of them, right? And it's just this weird place of, man, am I going to repeat the same mistakes my parents, not even mistakes, am I going to be in the same boat as my parents? But the difference is they didn't have the opportunities I had, right? They didn't have the situations that I found myself in. In a lot of ways, I had a better starting point. I had an education. I had a network. I had opportunities that they prayed for. And it made me wonder, like, am I going to drop the ball? Am I going to repeat the same mistakes, or the things my parents argued about, the things my parents worried about? Is that going to be my reality? So on one end, I totally resonated with his story. And it's crazy to think he got engaged on faith. Like, who proposes not knowing your financial situation, not knowing if you'll ever pop? And the crazy part is, when he got hired at the Daily Show, it was like a 3-month contract. And it was go time. Like, he had to prove himself. And so even that job wasn't really a guarantee. He was like fighting for his life, but he took full advantage of it. And he is where he is today. But I definitely resonate with that. Like, yo, am I going to make it? Am I going to find myself in the same predicament as my parents? Am I wasting my opportunities? Am I in the wrong field? 11 years is a long time. Do I get the point? I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you. It made me think of the story of Abraham, where Abraham got a promise from God, and 25 years later, there's no child to show for it. I wonder what his friends thought, what his family thought. You told us that you had this great purpose for yourself. You told us that God called you to greater. You told us that God was going to do something. You're going to be the father of many nations. You're in your old age, and you got one child to show for it, right? And so it just makes you wonder, am I crazy? Am I crazy? And I've definitely thought about that for myself. Like, am I crazy? Like, will I ever see the numbers I desire to see? Will I ever pop in the way that I want to pop? Will I ever make it the way I want to make it? And Colin and Samir, they had to start, took them 10 years to get 1 million subscribers. Think about that. That's a long time. And so, yeah, it's on one end, you're like, whoa, you're not the only one. So it's encouraging. But on the other end, it's like, yo, you can wait 10 years and it still not be a guarantee. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, any other thoughts there before we get into the why or like even what keeps us in this thing? Because maybe I haven't waited 10 years, but I've been in this game I just celebrated 5. I'm going on 6 years of the podcast world. I know I'm 2 years into the YouTube world, but yeah, I want to kind of talk about what helps us stay afloat. But any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think one thing that we kind of already talked about with is commitment. The other that works in tandem with that is desire. And something that I'm realizing in process. Not a lot of people know me, but I'm also like a dreamer, and
Yeah.
I'm a starter of things.
Mm.
Unfortunately, I've let success or numbers dictate my podcast, my YouTube show,
Mm.
my worship nights. There are many ventures that I've headed into. And
Yeah.
something that I've realized is that desire and commitment are good, but it's discipline that fuels
That's
desire.
good, man. That's good.
That if you want to continue to strive and let your whys fuel your pursuit of a goal,
Yeah.
you have to let discipline do its work.
Yeah.
Discipline is a muscle that
Mm.
grows your ultimate vision. So
Yeah.
I think that, like, as for those that might listen to this, or those who have a dream, or those who have started something, you have to let that process do your work and
Mm.
commit yourself to that thing, and not just to the success or to where you see yourself
Yeah.
10 years down the line. That
Yeah.
that thing should also drive you, but so should the skills,
Mm-hmm.
the assets, the character that gets developed as you journey along anything. And I
Yeah.
think that's what really breaks people in process,
Yeah.
is their lack of commitment to the discipline.
That's
Like, you
good.
have to be just as committed to the discipline
Yeah.
that comes with it and the character development that comes with it,
That's good, man.
not just
Mm,
to the achievement, to the numbers, to the subscriptions,
man.
to the money that comes. Yeah, man, or else you will break if you're not okay with the discipline and the development that comes with the process.
Man, bro.
So,
You got to fall in love with the art. You got to fall in love with the journey. Yeah, I definitely resonate with that. I just dropped a podcast episode yesterday talking about my journey to losing 60 pounds.
mm,
And one of the things I communicated in that episode is you can't rely on your feelings. You can't rely on, you know, the here and now. You can't be nearsighted, because to be
mm,
honest, you wake up and in the morning you're like, I could use an extra hour of sleep, but you know you should be going to the gym. It's like, I kind of want to stay up and watch another episode, but you know you should be reading a book, right? Or investing in your dreams. And so, yeah, falling in love with the process, embracing the discipline is key and instrumental in making it. And I think that that's something I've learned how to do and something I'm learning how to do. It's like there are days where you feel like you master that. And then there are days where you
mhm.
feel like, man, I don't think I got this all together. There are moments where you're like, man, I love the journey. I'm falling in love with the process. And then you're like,
Yeah,
I'm tired, dog. I just kind of want to get there already. Like, I'm tired, man. I kind of want to make it already. And so
yeah,
it's even that's even a journey. Loving the journey is a journey in of itself, right? And
yeah,
so, but yeah, they talked about this in their episode where, you know, both Hasan and Colin and Samir talked about how they had different things that happened in their journey that kind of helped them stay afloat. For Hasan, it was the internet, right? So professionally, when he wasn't popping off, YouTube was helping him out. Social media was helping him out. He's like, okay, I have great ideas. Okay. Like, I'm not totally crazy. Okay. Like, I've got something to offer. And then he would do
yeah,
stand up. And as he's going and doing to do stand up, he would watch the audience's response, and he'd be like, oh, okay, like I am funny. Like, I got something to offer. Like, I do have a fan base. I do have people that rock with my material, what have you. And
for
for
sure.
Colin and Samir, they talked about how they would go for so long, and one celebrity or one YouTuber or one influential person would be like, hey, I checked out your stuff. I love it. And it would kind of give them energy for the next 6 months, right?
Right.
And so it made me wonder, what's that for me? What's that one thing that helps me continue? What's the thing that
Mm,
has helped me stay afloat? Because podcasting for 5 years, and I hate to compare, but I'm gonna do it. So the Roommates podcast
yeah.
started the same year I started. Okay.
Mm,
They started in 2017. I started in 2017. But when I look at where they're at versus where I'm at, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is where I could have been at in 5 years.
for
I
sure.
think to myself, like, oh my gosh, like I'm really hurting myself here. You know what I'm saying? Granted,
Yeah,
they were more consistent. They were, you know, they went at it at a speed that I didn't go at it. They learned the
yeah,
game a lot quicker than I did. They made it a grind, whereas for me it was a passion project for so long. But I still think
for
about it like,
sure.
man, I'm 5 years in and I could have been there, right? But comparison is no good because we're all on our own journey, and we all have our own story to tell, and bringing faith into this. I believe that God is all working something out. But in
Yeah.
the last 5 years, I have had moments that have given me encouragement to continue
Mm,
podcasting. One of those encouragements is this, and this is something that people probably don't think about, but I have talked to many content creators, and I've talked to some that are influential, and they all tell me the same thing. None of their friends or family members really watches their stuff. They're like, I do life with you. I'm in community with you. We can just talk about this. You don't need to like be tuning in. I don't need to
mm,
be tuning in at all. And something that has encouraged me, something that has kept me on this path, is having friends and family members, you being one of them, reach out to me and be like, yo, that last episode was fire. Yo, this bit of content that you had, that was gold right there. Hey,
mm.
like I have friends reach out to me like, yo, I just saw your subscriber count. Congratulations on the 50 new subscribers. I have people like you like hit me up. I think last week is like, yo, congratulations, you got 100 new subscribers. Like, what has really encouraged me is having friends and family members in my life validate and affirm this thing, because it's easy to please strangers. It's easy to entertain those who don't know you. It's easy to capture the hearts and the minds of those that have no relationship with you. But to have people that are doing life with you, that see you day in and day out. And for those that are in my life, I'm a preacher. So a lot of my content that I put out here, you guys probably heard in one shape or form, right? Like it's like, it's not new information for a lot of you guys, but you sit and you tune in, you share, you subscribe, you like, you push them, and you keep watch, and you celebrate my wins and things of that nature. And that has been instrumental for me, dog. And that has kept me. And I've had big moments where I've had influential people and those that are doing it at a high level validate this. And that was great. And I've talked about that helping me out, but I've never talked about how friends and family have helped me stay afloat in this journey, because it's easy to impress a stranger. It's another thing to impress those that actually do life with you. And so that is one of those things that have kept me afloat in all of this. How about you, man?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely vital, because the reality is that artists, creators, creatives
Yeah.
need to slow down for a moment.
Yeah.
Like, because let me backtrack real quick.
Yeah.
And even just like speak to like your comparison.
Yeah.
Like, pace dictates progression,
Yeah.
right? So like, if you like, the amount of work that you put into something is going to dictate
Right.
how far along you are, or
Right.
what you learn about the journey. You go slower, it's going to
Yeah.
be a slower grind. You're not going to get there as fast. But
Right.
if there's a goal you want to get to, put in that work on the front end,
Right.
and you'll get all the information you need, work out all the kinks and things of that nature. So first off, I wanted to like, yeah, pace dictates progression.
Yeah.
But also, I feel like creators need to be able to slow down for a moment and celebrate the winks that they do get.
Yeah.
I think so many
It's
times
good, man.
you put your mind down, that like in like, foot is on the gas, and
Yeah.
everything is about go, 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 that you don't have the ability to acknowledge the work that has been done, or the
Right.
influence and the impact that it does have. So you continue in going and trying to, and thinking that the dopamine hit, or like your success comes from you finally hitting that 100,000 subscribers, that
Yeah.
million subscribers, that million downloads. But really, if you would have slowed down and celebrated the winks and the affirmations that you get,
Yeah.
like, you would have been healthier in the process.
Right.
You know?
And that 100,000 subscriber would have meant more to you. Like, I watched Colin and Samir's, like they had an event, a conference they were speaking at. It was like a creators conference when they hit 1 million subscribers. And what they did is, during their talk, they had the count up on the screen, and they just kind of watched it tick until it hit 1 million, and they celebrated. And Samir got emotional. He cried. And I feel like they were able to sit in that and celebrate that because they knew what it took to get there. That they were able to celebrate every step of the way, that they felt the wins, they felt the losses. When there was a point where they even talked about that they were negative $18,000.
Saw that.
Oh my goodness. Like, how do you keep going when you're negative $18,000? And so, because they were able to buy in. Yeah. Like, a lot of people would have been like, I'm giving up on this. Like, I'm just not getting the results I seek to see, but they kept going at it. And so for me, to your point, I feel like I can't celebrate 1 million subscribers if I can't celebrate 1,000 subscribers. I can't celebrate 1,000 subscribers if I can't celebrate 100 subscribers. Like, if we are not able to celebrate the little wins, the big wins will never mean anything to us. The reason why we're itching for more is because we have not understood what we have obtained. If we have a grasp at what it is that we have accomplished and how far we really have come, it's easier for us to celebrate the wins that come that seem big. Because at the end of the day, I think Ruslan was talking about this, everybody feels like they're in the days of small beginnings. And so like there's those who have 250,000 subscribers thinking to themselves, oh, if only I can have 500,000. There's those who have 500,000 subscribers who think, man, if I had 1 million subscribers. And so it's this rat race. You never get enough. You always want more. And I think there's that fine line between being content and being complacent, right? I want to be content but never complacent. But one of the things that helps me stay content and not complacent is celebrating the small wins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I am a wannabe entrepreneur, and how I live that out is through the show Shark Tank. I am
Yeah.
an avid Shark Tank watcher. I've
Yeah.
watched for the last 14 seasons. And something that for small business owners is usually encouraged from one of the sharks, whether it's Damon, whether it's Mr. Wonderful, whether it's Mark, the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, is they remind these entrepreneurs who have big time evaluations, so who are asking for like $1 million for 5% of the company,
Yeah.
um, or whatever that margin is, or whatever they set their evaluation, um, to celebrate where they do come. Like, I
Yeah.
get you want to be a $20 million business,
Yeah.
a $50 million business, and part of this investment is to help you scale and pace yourself to be
Yeah.
able to gain more capital, to get more inventory, to be able to pay more salaries, whatever they're distributing that to. But part of the sharks, so people who are billionaires are like, no, yo, you just did $300,000 this year. Like,
Yeah.
that's great,
Yeah.
and don't let your goal blind you
Come on now.
from actually seeing that you're more valuable to your business than the 20% you're about to give up. Right? Like,
That's
we get
real.
so
That's
desperate
so
for
good,
more
man.
results that we diminish our value
Man.
on the thing.
That's a
So I
word.
think for me, like, partly what you got to do as an artist, as a creator, as an entrepreneur, at whatever field you're in, as a managed supervisor who wants to become a manager, or a manager who wants to like move up the chain, a CFO to CEO, whatever pace it is,
Yeah.
a nurse to a doctor, like,
Yeah.
for real, slow down and
Yeah.
celebrate the winks that you get
Yeah.
while still making yourself better.
I want to speak to that for a second. Something that blew my mind away was Colin and Samir said that they were just desperate. They were negative $18,000. What kept
Mm-hmm.
them going was ideas. But
Mm-hmm.
Hasan said something, bro. He
Mm-hmm.
said in 2019, when they were at the lowest that they had ever been, he was watching their stuff. Like, I think he saw their comments in some of his posts. He checked them out and he liked what he was watching. Bro, like, let me tell you why that blew my mind away. Because you never know who's watching.
Just watch it. That's
Like,
right.
I just get, all I see is the numbers. Like, I see right now 5 people are live with us, right?
Mm.
We're gonna record this. It's gonna go up, and then maybe a week from now, 100 people watch this. Maybe 1,000 people watch this.
Mm.
I don't
Mm.
have a name attached to that number, and so that's the thing that we got to keep in mind. We don't know who's paying attention. We don't know who's watching. And to your point, if we give up on what we have, if we don't understand the value, if we're trying to sell or give up what we have, we never know what we'll have until we keep going. Like, I had a very similar story. I didn't have somebody to the caliber of Hasan checking my stuff out. And if he has, I don't know about it. You know what I'm
Let
saying?
me know, brother.
Let me know. I'm trying to actually have him
here.
on the podcast. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
One time
sir.
for the one time.
Yeah.
But I did have
Happen,
a well-known Christian artist DM me one day, and he was like, "Hey, bro, just watched your Lecrae interview. You've got something special. Keep going. This is great." And I was like, "Yo, he knows me." Like, I was like blown away, and I wasn't blown away because I was worshiping the man, but I was blown away because someone who I respected was watching what I was producing. And I didn't have to get 1,000 subscribers. I didn't have to get 100,000 subscribers. I didn't have to get 1,000,000 subscribers. This is the beauty of the internet. You never know who's watching, so keep working. You never know who's paying attention, so keep working. Don't give up on your dreams. Don't punt your dreams. Be smart with it. Make wise investments. Go about it in the way that's right. But you just never know who's paying attention. And you never know 2-3 years from now who's going to end up on your channel that was watching when you were at negative $18,000.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
You never know who's talking about you.
Yeah.
You
You
don't
never
know
know
who's
what.
an advocate of you. Like,
Yeah.
the way that it's worked out in my life is like,
Yeah.
man, people will talk in green rooms, in different conversations,
Yeah.
and because it might get slipped up, but like sometimes people are viewing that are high caliber
Yeah.
and don't necessarily like or leave a comment because they want to see your commitment to the thing.
Yeah.
You know what
Absolutely.
I'm saying?
Yo, can
Because
I
they've been where you are.
I had somebody DM me one time, and I never made public that I was discouraged by likes, shares, or nothing. I'm just doing my thing, putting out content. And I had this random person hit me up and was like, "Hey bro, I just want to let you know that people are watching and people are talking. Keep going." He's like, just
Mm.
because nobody's liking your stuff, or just because not as many people that are watching are actually liking your stuff, aren't liking your stuff, doesn't mean that they're not impressed with your stuff. Just keep going.
Mhm.
And I never dared to ask the question, what do you mean by that? Where's this intel coming from? Like, what did you hear? What conversations were you a part of? I just liked it. I was like, thanks, bro. Thanks for the encouragement. Kept it pushing. But to your point, you're right. You never know. But don't do that. Show some love. If you're tuning in right now, hit the like button. Hey, right now, it's a good opportunity to hit
Leave
the
a comment
subscribe
right
button,
now.
turn the bell notifications on. We love all of that. But yeah, man, you just never know who's watching. Keep going. Don't compromise your art. You never know when it's going to turn the corner for you, which leads to the next point that they talked about that really I've been meditating on. Hasan was talking about the difference between or artistry versus the algorithm. And he was saying nowadays, a lot of people just get on social media, get on YouTube, and put out content that they think will get views. They might not even have a well-developed thought around the topic. They might not even have a passion for the topic. They just know this is getting clicks, these are getting likes, this is what's going to boost your channel. So let me jump on this train and just talk about it, even if I don't know anything about it, even if I don't understand it, even if I don't care for it. I just want to feed the algorithm so that the algorithm can feed my wallet, right? Versus the artist who sits down, has an idea, processes the idea, writes down the idea, produces the idea, and puts the idea out, right? And he was just talking about like there's a difference. And it made me think, bro, it really made me think like, yo, am I producing content that is near and dear to my heart? Am I producing content that I truly value, or am I just getting on whatever train? And I love Colin and Samir's response because they balanced it out. They talked about this idea that you kind of have to adhere to the algorithm a little bit to get your name out. Like Hasan did say that from a place of like power. Really, he's got the pockets. He can afford to make the content he wants to make. But, and it made me, J. Cole, like, it just reminded me of the story. J. Cole once told a story of how he was not a fan of the politics behind hip hop. This idea that you got to be in people's faces, that you got to go and do interviews, even if you have no project coming out, even if you have no music to promote, if you want to stay relevant, if you want people to like you, you got to go on the road, you got to do interviews, you got to post on social media. We know now that he's not really out there like that. He doesn't really care for his celebrity or fame. He's a regular dude. He performs in sweats. He's on bikes in New York City. Like he'll be just popping out. I feel like he doesn't even recognize or realize the magnitude of his influence. Maybe he does. He just doesn't want to. But anyways, he was confiding in this producer named No ID. And he told No ID, like, dog, like, I just want to make music. I didn't get into this for the fame, the celebrity. I just want to make music and take care of my family. And No ID gave him this advice. No ID told him, you've got to play the game to change the game.
Yep.
So
say that.
you got to be, I know you hate it right now, but you got to do it until you're in a position to not be to not do it. And that's exactly what he did. He played the game, blew up, and we never saw the man again. He only comes out when he's got music to drop. And so there is a little bit of like tension, right? But it did make me wonder, like, yo, am I doing the same thing? And here's what I'll say. Like when I started podcasting, I didn't know there was money in this. This was a passion project, right?
Yeah.
I think I've been fortunate, and this is important. We'll talk about this at the end. Your why is really what sustains you. Like, I
Yep.
remember when I felt like I was called into ministry, I was not encouraged in that. In fact, I had family members telling me not to do it. I had friends who
Yep.
didn't understand it. I had a church that didn't really support. Like, everybody's like, be a doctor, be a lawyer. Like, you came to America, there's no money in ministry. Like, and even my mom, I love my mom. She supports me, but she was like, don't do it. You know what I mean? And
Mm.
the same with content creation. I remember I wanted to start a podcast in 2012. My friends were like, who do you think we are? Nobody's going to listen to us. 2 years later in 2014, I was like, guys, no, I think we should start a podcast. Same response. Who do you think we are? Nobody's going to listen to us. And then I was like, 2017, I knew, man, I've been sitting on this for 5 years. This
Yeah.
passion, this zeal is not going anywhere. I'm just going to do it. I know nobody else is doing it. Nobody will understand it. And so thank God I got into it for the right reasons. And honestly, we do this whether the camera is on or not. We do this whether the mics are on or not. This is in fact, you and I had a very deep conversation earlier today, and
Yeah.
it wasn't even about this, but it touched on this. But this is just what I do. And so it is a passion project for me. And so, but when you know that there's money involved, you're like, all right, how can I maximize so I can monetize? And let me tell you how I play into the algorithm a little bit, and I'm still wrestling if this is good or not. This reaction video that we're doing right now is more in tune to who I am and what I'm about. But I
Mm-hmm.
have made a lot of reaction videos for the views. I'm just going to own it right now. Like, it's for the
Yeah.
algorithm. I have seen that this is what works. If you make a reaction video, people will click on. And I remember, I'm just going to be blunt and honest. I made one reaction video that really blew up and got me a good amount of subscribers. It was on Devon Franklin and Megan Good's divorce.
Mm.
Now, I made the video. I mean, I was true to who I am and the content I put out in that reaction. But I remember thinking to myself, like, this is not who I am as a creator. I actually want to sit down with Devon Franklin and have an interview. I want to get him on the podcast and talk something meaningful about how does a Christian navigate culture? How does a Christian navigate the entertainment business? Like, this is that would be a conversation. And I was like, man, did I really ruin it for myself? Like, sure, I got like 5,000 views off this video. It got me some subscribers. It helped the algorithm. But is this really what I want to do? Is this really who I am? And that's where my mind went when Hasan was talking about, like, yo, the artist versus the algorithm, and that tension where, man, I'm a conversationalist. I just want to sit down and do interviews or conversations that are meaningful and helpful and impactful, that will push the envelope forward, that will help people, that will inspire people, that will help people have a grander vision for God. That's my aim and ambition. But like these reaction videos, like, I'm like, I guess this is what works. And sometimes it helps me. And I sometimes wonder, well, once I get to the subscriber number I want, or once I get to the number I want to be at, will I go back and delete all my reaction videos? Like, that's something I'm thinking about. But yeah, how about you?
Yeah.
Like, have you thought about this dichotomy, this tension, this war between artistry and algorithm?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they both complement each other.
Mm,
But just like anything that complement each other, they also compete whenever the thing is not viewed healthily.
break it
I
down.
think my biggest takeaway from what Hasan was saying, and then even what Colin and forgive me, what's
Samir.
the other Samir? Yeah. Had to contribute to. Um, what I heard from Colin was this: that for anything, any production that is viewed, anything that people get their hands on,
Mm-hmm.
the power, the beauty, the value of the thing is not in the production or the
Mm-hmm.
distribution, it's in the content.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you can have all the money, all the aesthetic, all everything be curated to what you think people want to see, how they want to feel. But
Yeah.
if that content is trash,
Right.
nobody's going to watch it. It's not going
Right.
to be sustained. It
Right.
won't last beyond you or
Right.
hit the greater mission or goal that you want. So
Right.
he called it like strength of the PDF in comedy, right? So like
Yeah.
if he's in a room with
Yeah.
other greats, he's like, man, I know that this is strong. I've got about a minute to make them laugh or for them to buy in.
Yeah, that's it.
right?
Yeah.
So like even if so for him, he's like, man, when you're starting the thing,
Yeah.
or even if you're in the middle of it, like that's the thing that you should focus on.
Yeah.
But I think that Colin and Samir also have a point in saying, man, you have to understand the business of the thing.
Right.
You
Right.
stay blissful to the business, you can have all the greatest content, but nobody's going to hear it,
Right.
right? It
Right.
won't get in front of the people that you don't want. Like, you're not going to learn that you could monetize so that you could actually give it more energy, more focus,
Yeah.
more thought, more
Yeah.
work, right? So, like,
Yeah.
time is money, right? So,
Yeah.
like, you understand the algorithm end of thing and how the process, how the business, how the structure works of it,
Yeah.
you'll be able to maximize and have more of an impact with the content, which is the meat, which is the value, the power of anything that you do. And I think what I heard from the both of them are
Mm.
both are valuable. If you're going to give a hierarchy to the two, obviously it's content. And I
Yeah.
think that for me, what it kind of led to is something that I've wrestled with over the last few years. We've journeyed in conversations about this too, but man, we live in a generation who wants instantaneous gratification,
Right.
who
Right.
wants instantaneous stardom,
Yeah.
even before they're ready.
Mm.
So they play into the algorithm.
Right.
Here's something that I've talked about, like,
Yeah.
the gift will make room for you, right? And
Right.
here's a
Yeah. That's
spiritual
good.
concept, and bring you before great men. But I think the saying is true that the gift will get you into the room, but your character is
Keeps
what
you.
keeps you in the room. And
Yeah.
I just think that we're in a generation of people
Yeah.
that play into the algorithm, but don't really develop in mastery.
Yeah. That's good, bro.
It, yeah. And I think mastery is what comes as a result of focusing on content.
I'm
So
I'm gonna
the
say
qual,
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry. I just
yeah,
got
yeah.
excited when you
Not
said
just
that.
being a lyricist. So, like for my field, I'm a singer, I'm a worship leader, right?
Yeah.
So, not just relying on strong worship songs, but honing in on my craft,
Yeah.
right? So, learning right breathing techniques,
Right.
right? Understanding, being able to blend,
Yes.
um, like not just relying on the delay for pitch correction, but working on my pitch,
Yeah.
on my ear, my support, my runs, being tasteful, right? Working on the mastery is important. Like I could
Yeah.
speak to that when it comes to teaching and preaching, but that also feeds into content. And
Yeah.
I would just
It's
think that
good.
we've got people who are focused
It's good.
on the end goal.
Yeah.
And again, I don't want to beat a dead horse here and keep talking about journey and process,
Yeah.
but mastery feeds the strength of your content,
Yeah.
right?
You
So
preaching. You preaching.
anyway, what do
And
you
and,
think
and
about
that's
that?
why, man, that's why I feel the way I feel about all these little rappers nowadays. They make songs for TikTok, they blow up, they have a moment, and they're nowhere to be found in 6 months. You know
Sure.
what I mean? Versus
Yeah, yeah.
and Colin Samir, I think it was Samir specifically he was saying about this with Hasan. He's not for width, he's for depth.
Depth, yes, sir.
Like that's the thing because he's owning his craft. He knows who he is. He has a voice. He has a message, and he's pursuing that. And he might not hit the masses, but the people he does hit, he will have a deep connection with. Like when I think about Hasan,
Mm-hmm.
like I pay attention every time he has an interview while I'm watching. If when he came out last year for the special, I was like, I gotta go, right? Because I remember the first special he did, Homecoming King. The way I resonated with that as an Ethiopian American,
Mm.
the way his upbringing, his battles, his journey resonated with me. Like that's not the story for everyone, but the person that he can resonate with, like me, I'm bought in. And now whatever he does, he has my support because
Yeah.
like I deeply resonate with him. And that's the thing, man. If you want to reach the masses, you don't need to know who you are. You don't have to have a message. You don't need to have an identity. You can just placate to what's hot. But the problem is, I'm thinking about J. Cole in the song 1985.
Mm.
Like, one day your stuff ain't going to sell. You're going to be too old to put out the music that you were putting before, and you're not going to be hot anymore. You're going to flop. And then you're going to be doing these wild things like going on Love and Hip Hop, right? Like, I love that. Like, J. Cole's 1985 was literally a TED Talk, bro. It was a TED Talk, and it wasn't just for rappers. It was for anybody doing anything meaningful in life. If you really want skin in the game, you got to play it right. And that's why, and what you said really made me feel better, because I was leveraging reaction videos, but I've always believed I stayed true to who I was. Like, I always made content in my reaction videos that were consistent with my brand, consistent with my belief system, that was consistent with what I was trying to accomplish. But yeah, I don't think they have to be at odds with one another. I think we can leverage the algorithm to be an artist, right?
Yeah.
And shorts are in right now. Reels are in right now. TikToks are in right now. And we're going to leverage that. And all these conversations, these hot, like the red pill community, we look at masculinity, you look at faith and culture, you look at all these hot topics, and I can leverage that, not to be someone I'm not, but to bring who I am to the table and offer insight and perspective that not might be shared with everyone. Like, I hope that the people that come to this channel, like, I'm a Christian, I believe in God, but I hope those that tune in aren't all Christians. I hope that no matter what you believe, no matter what you're about, like, Hasan is Muslim.
Yeah.
But the way I resonate with the man, because he talks about real things. Like, I don't, like, you don't have to have the same religion as me to, like, I hope people are attracted to truth, that's our common denominator. And I'm telling you right now, people aren't attracted to truth right now. They're attracted to fake news, what's hot, what's fake, what will get them in front of the masses. But that's the thing. You're hot for 2 seconds, and then you're going to end up on Love and Hip Hop. Shout out to J. Cole.
Shout out.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, bro. Man, so many thoughts to that. Snap, I had something in my head.
Come on, Bishop.
Come
back, wherever you are.
It's in there somewhere. Yeah. So when it came, if we're going to be honest, whether you're creative, an artist, whatever, every human has some sort of level of desire to leave a lasting impact in life, to deeply resonate. And I think something that at the top of even the interview of the podcast, what Colin and Samir really praise Hasan about is his ability to not cheat the people.
Right. Yes.
Or play into the people by being authentic, transparent, and vulnerable to yourself. And I think it was really enlightening for me, because Hasan says, I'm not the culture that also impacted me. Right. So, like,
that was
whether
a great
we're
point.
talking about like hip hop, whether we're talking about maybe even athletics, he's like, what I needed to do to leave a lasting impact and not cheat the people was bring exactly who I am.
That's so
not
good.
To play to what it's hot, to what's hot, and people will actually resonate more with who you are than what you actually think.
Absolutely.
One theologian.
Go ahead. No, one theologian.
One theologian puts it like this. I'm forgetting who it was, so that I can give credit, but paints this picture that all our stories are interconnected. They're in somewhere. That's part of the rhythm, part of the map, the plan, the story of God. Right. We just have to be able to find those things.
Right.
Whether it's like somewhere we've been, somebody we know, a thing that we have done. All of us are interconnected. But we've got to be true to who we are to be able to find where those true relatable pieces are.
That's so
good.
Like
in our art, in our creation, in our progression, there's a necessity to be honest and true to who you are as well too, even in this artistry versus the algorithm.
Bro, this reminds me of, Michael B. Jordan directed his first film recently, Creed 3. The trailer for that just dropped, which is crazy.
And I need to watch it.
I got until March to get right. I'm gonna be upset. Listen, if I'm not where I want to be by March, mark my words right now. Like, this is holding me accountable.
75 hard again?
Maybe. I might have to do that again. But Denzel gave some directing tips to Michael B. Jordan, and it aligns with what we're talking about. Denzel told Michael B. Jordan, if you want to be successful, you've got to be extremely specific to be universal. You've got to be, in order to be successful, specific and universal. But the more specific you get, the more universal you become. And I think that's such a beautiful picture of life. Like, I'll give you an example. No matter what your cultural background is, we all can resonate with loss. We might grieve differently. We might feel loss differently. But if you can tug at that emotion and express it in a way that is consistent to your individuality and consistent to who you are and your cultural context and your upbringing and the way God has uniquely and purposefully designed you, you might not resonate with the way I express it, but you resonate with the feeling. And maybe the way I express it will shed light on maybe why you feel the way you feel, or inspire you to grieve in a way that's more helpful and beneficial for you. And so, and it's the thing now, right? Like everybody, I think Hasan even shouted out Ethiopian food in the interview.
Yeah.
Bro, everybody's got Ethiopian restaurants in their TV shows now. Though I remember a time where I was so embarrassed to be Ethiopian because I would go to school smelling like onions, and the kids used to make fun of me, dog. And they used to be like, "What's that smell?" And I was so I felt so much shame being Ethiopian. It made me resent my food. But think about it though. If we had Insecure growing up, shout out to Issa. Issa has Ethiopian restaurants in like every season. If I had that growing up, there would be a sense of pride going into school, because when you become extremely specific, you hit everybody. And so everybody benefits, but I feel celebrated. My cultural context feels celebrated, right? It's another interview that Colin and Samir had with Andrew Schultz. And Andrew Schultz, one of the reasons why he popped is because he was culturally competent. So he would come and he would make a joke that was resonating with a specific community, and they would latch onto that, and they would see that, and it was kind of like a portal for him to be connected to all his other stuff. He would make a joke that was specific to the East African community. They latched onto that. I mean, think about that for a second. Every time whether you like The Weeknd or not, we're going to champion him because he's Ethiopian.
Absolutely.
Whether you like Amine or not, we're going to champion him because he is Ethiopian. And so at the end of the day, like you resonate with someone, it opens you up to a whole new world. And I feel like that's why it's so important to be authentically you and be the way God has designed you to be. There can't be another Breakfast Club. There can't be another Roommates podcast. There can't be another Ruslan. There can't be another Southside Rabbi. There can't be another Colin and Samir. We are shaping the culture. We can only be shaping the culture. And the more specific we are, the more confident we are in the way God has molded and designed us and me and this podcast and the vision he's entrusted me with. I will hit a specific demographic, but that demographic will reach a wider audience. And so it's important to be true to who you are, because that's how anything is successful, right? When you think about hip hop culture, ain't no way I resonate with Tupac. I don't know that life. I'm Ethiopian who grew up in the suburbs. Ain't no way I should like Jay-Z. There's nothing about Jay-Z I can relate with. Like that, it's so like when you think about it, there's nothing in Jay-Z's lyrics that make me go, "Oh yeah, I know all about it. I feel you, cuz I know what it's like to sell bricks, to not know when my next meal is going to come." I don't know that life, but I can resonate with the grind. I can resonate with the hunger. I can resonate with the desperation. I can resonate with chasing a dream. I can resonate with trying to make it out, even if me making it out looks different than what making it out for him looks like. And so in him being authentically himself, he touches more people, not because I resonate with how he wants to get out, but I resonate with why he wants to get out. And I have the same story.
Yeah, bro. So good. I feel like our logic needs to be expanded, because the reality is that this is counterintuitive. But just because it doesn't make sense to you does not make it any true.
Right.
And I think this is the reality. Like, go deeper, be more focused, be more tunnel vision, and you'd reach more people than thinking that you have to be a jack of all trades and master of none.
Yeah, that's real.
Know? So.
Yeah, that's good. We've been talking for almost an hour now. There's just one more thing I wanted to touch on, and it's the why. What has kept shaping the culture with little to no fruit? What has kept your singing career with little to no fruit? What has kept our dreams alive, even though we don't see any? You and I had a real conversation about this earlier. Like, yo, how long we gonna keep going and not see fruit? How long we gonna keep going and feel like, man, our work is just, it's not being seen, right? And this is not like, this is no pity party or anything like that. This is not like, oh, come. It's because we got work to do. And we got to keep learning the system, learning the grind, knowing the algorithm, being true to ourselves, working the system, playing the game to change the game, being consistent, working hard. But at the same time, sometimes your efforts are overlooked. Sometimes you feel like you're not being given a fair shot. I don't know if I could say that, but whatever it is, or maybe you just don't see the results that you want to see. Your why is vital. And so I want to, I can close out with my why, but what's your why? What keeps you in the game?
Yeah, man. So there are a few different things that I do so the viewers can know me a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm a worship leader here in the Twin Cities. I've been a worship leader in whatever capacity, in whatever church size, for about 15 years
Yeah.
now. Grew up in the church. And through that world, I feel like I've started to gain different passions or realize different gifts, which have had me venture into different worlds and career paths. So I'm
Yeah.
thankful for that. But primarily, man, I'm a worshiper, and I'm a preacher, and I'm a conversationalist. If you had to hone it down to three different things, it's those. And I think that the nature of the work, I could tie my why down to one thing, because there's power in the message. I think for me, the reason why I got into this thing, which also fuels my why, is because of the deep impact, change, transformation, hope, light, power, purpose that it gave me. And I think I got into this thing, and my why, what continues to fuel, is because I want people to encounter, experience, feel, intangibly see that that is also possible for them. So whether it's 1,000, hundreds of thousands, or millions, whatever the number is, my commitment, my why is deeper than what I offer or how good I get at it. I think sometimes what robs the power of the why, or what leads to doubt, and this is another, we don't have to go too deep into this because it is deep, is you get so lost in the sauce in trying to play the algorithm. So in my world, you get into the church because that's the expression that you think your why is best effective.
Yeah.
But then you learn that there's a game,
Right.
and that there's language, and there's a culture there.
Right.
I'm not meaning to call out anything as if it's bad or good. I'm just talking about the reality of what my experiences have been.
Yeah.
And at some point for me, the game became the focus rather than the why. So my focus of
The
my
algorithm.
mastery, my like being the best at the algorithm, knowing the most about the algorithm, being able to contribute into the algorithm, robs, and this is something that I continue to fight, right? I think it robs me of, like, at those times that I am fearful, that I do doubt. It's because I haven't let the why be more true than the other, the game that has to be played as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's good.
So anyways, but the why always overarches and gives fuel. So anytime you feel burnt out, anytime you feel like quitting, it's important that you surround yourself with people, and even just internally, that remind you of the why.
Man, thank you that's very transparent. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's not something we like to admit in the church. The game,
No.
politics.
For sure.
There's
It
politics.
becomes
Yeah.
enticing, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can put your identity in that thing,
Yeah.
especially if you see it working.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we've seen it working for people.
Yeah,
Yeah, we don't need to get
absolutely.
into that.
Yeah,
But
yeah, 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 yeah.
Hassan says something really deep at the end of the interview. He said, nobody comes out of this unscathed, that everybody gets chin checked.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to learn how to pivot. You got to like grieve dreams that didn't come true. And in the journey, you'll discover new dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to be okay with that. You got to be okay with letting go of what you wanted and pursuing what can be. Everybody gets knocked out by life, bro. Everybody. And I love how he compared. He's like, it doesn't matter what your political stance is. Biden's been chin checked. Trump has been chin checked. Like, it doesn't matter if you're Christian or Muslim. It doesn't matter if you're black or white. It doesn't matter if you're male or female. You keep on this path, like, life will hit you. Life will hit you. And what has kept me, what has motivated me in the knockdown, to your point, is this message. I always tell people I got tricked into ministry. And I always tell people I got tricked into ministry because I encountered the love of God at age 14. It's 2006. And all I ever wanted to do was tell the world about this love. Like, I experienced the love of God in such a real and transformative way. Yeah. And I know I never sought out to be a content creator. I never sought out to be a preacher. I never sought out to be a pastor. I just came home from that retreat and I wanted to tell my friends what God did for me. That's it. Like, whoever would listen, whoever would lend me their ears, that's who I was going to share this message with. And at that point, the only message was my testimony. I could only give them what I had received. And one thing led to another. You just keep telling people your story long enough. You keep getting excited about the message long enough. And you just find yourself in leadership positions. And one thing leads to another. And that leads to another. And before you know it, you look up and you're in ministry. And you're leading more people than you thought you'd ever lead, right? And then even with this podcast, like, it was a passion project, bro. I'm going to tell you, like, I don't know if I've ever shared this story before, but when I started this podcast, I had very low goals for myself. I had a couple of friends that had a podcast in college, and every episode they dropped, they were averaging 20 to 30 views an episode. I'm not knocking on that. I'm not trying to compare anything like that. But I was like, oh, realistically speaking, a great starting point or a great place to anticipate is 20, 30 views an episode. That was my thinking. And so for me, what got me excited is, I had this burden, undenying passion for 4 or 5 years. I felt like not only did I have a message that got me into ministry, but I was falling in love with culture, which was so refreshing because my whole life we've demonized culture and we were told that culture was bad. And yes, there are bad parts about culture, but there are beautiful things about culture. And I wanted to be in culture, and and because I knew not everything in culture was beautiful, I wanted to help shape culture with the message that changed my life. And so for 5 years, this burden would not go away. I didn't know anybody podcasting. I didn't see anybody make a dime off podcasting. I didn't see anybody make nothing off podcasting. I just knew that me and my friends were conversationalists. We sit down and have conversations that literally alter the direction of our lives.
Absolutely.
We would be in Bible studies, bro, and the things that were discussed in those Bible studies would change literally the way I would look at life, the way I would look at myself, the way I look at God, the way I would look at everything. And so for me, like, as I grew in my passion for culture, as this burden came to podcast, I was like, let me start this. And again, I literally thought 20, 30 views an episode. That's what I'm going to average. So clearly there's no money in this. In 2017, I didn't even know there was money in podcasting. I didn't think I was going to hit the masses because I'm expecting 20, 30 views. I dropped the episode, and within 24 hours, 250 people watched the episode.
Do you remember who your first guest was?
Messai.
Yes, sir.
I need to get him back on. Yeah,
man.
And 2017, shout out to Messai. That's a whole nother conversation, but
Yeah, bro.
it's like 250 views. I don't even know 250 people. Like what, what is going on? You know what I'm saying? And immediately, like I remember thinking to myself, oh, this is bigger than what I thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is the Lord wants to do something with this, because it was 250 people without the algorithm helping me. It was 250 people without the reels. It was 250 people without advertisement. This is before you could put ads on your post.
Yeah.
This is before any of that. And so I remember thinking to myself, oh, and I know it's not about the numbers, but sometimes it is, you know, but in that moment, those numbers reflected to me that it was a confirmation that I got to keep going in this. But that's why I never tripped. It's not until recently, maybe like last year, where I was like, let me try to monetize out this. Let me, there's some serious money in this. Let me actually like maximize. But for the longest, it was always, I've got a message. I've got a burden for culture. And for those who don't know my story, sorry, I'm like taking a while to explain or unpack this. But for those who don't know, I remember I've always had a heart and a burden for people in culture. I remember always being the biggest T.I. fan. I know there's a lot of, I don't know, it's just, as time goes on, man, that man is just one controversy after another. But he was a man back in my day, right?
For sure.
And I remember when he got caught on gun charges, and I remember why. It was because he lost a good friend and things of that nature, and he got locked up. And I wrote a letter to him, you know what I'm saying? Like, there was like this, like, yo. And at that time, this is before the craze. This is before, like, now we got a bunch of Christians in entertainment. And so I'm not even, but this, I remember being young and thinking like, yo, like I want to be in culture and be a voice of hope. I want to be in culture and be a voice of truth. And that's always been my message, whether I'm in the church with my friends, in my community, or in culture. I want to be a voice of truth. I want to be a voice of hope. And that's my why. That's what keeps me going, not because of anything else. And then secondly, I'll be honest, my second why now is I'm trying to monetize, man. I'm trying to retire my parents. So, and I have no shame in that either. It doesn't always have to, and that's a deep thing too. Like Christian culture has taught us that wanting to be successful shouldn't be deep, but it is, because God has given us talents, and he's given us time, and he's given us giftings, and we got to use that and maximize that for his glory. And so those two whys, like the message, the burden for culture, and wanting to take care of my family, like I want to be that guy. The Bible says the righteous man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. You know what I'm saying? Like, for the longest, I had accepted the fact that I would be broke. I'm in a different season of life. I want to live in such a way where not only am I set up, but my kids are set up. And not only are my kids set up, but my kids' kids are set up, because I don't want any hindrances for them to see and receive the things of God and to pursue God. And money has a factor to play. That's a whole nother episode that maybe we don't have time to get into today, but it is what it is. I said a lot. Any last thoughts that you have before we wrap this one up?
You about started another conversation about how sometimes the blessing can lead to a testimony of God. So let's stop demonizing money.
Yeah.
Anyways,
it is.
But I digress. I think that we had a good conversation.
Listen, the reason why the reason why I can read my Bible is because I'm literate. The reason why I'm literate is my parents could afford for me to live in a certain neighborhood that offered great education. You know what I'm saying? Like, it always, like, it's not about money, but it is about money. But that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, absolutely, bro.
So, yeah, man, I appreciate your contribution to conversation. I appreciate your depth and your wisdom. Hey, Colin, Samir, Hasan, they might be watching, yo. Listen, after hearing what Hasan said, yo, let us know, man. Hit me up. I'd love for y'all to be on the podcast.
Bro, this might just inspire To The Root coming back too.
Hey, bring it back, dog. We need more people in this space, man. I keep telling it. I keep telling y'all there's enough for everybody. And so
enough room for everybody. Shout out Ruslan. Shout out Ebenezer and Shaping the Culture.
You know what I'm saying? Gang. All right, family. Until next time, peace and grace.